a good morning, and a good afternoon, and a good evening to you. Wasn't that beautifully horrible? Hello everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Hope you're all well today, hope all is well in your world, and everything is grand and all is good. Yay! Distinctively Dave Gilmour intro today, I trust you'll agree. Don't know where that came from, it just kind of like appeared out of the ether. Okay, so anyway, welcome to A&Q Wednesday, everybody. Let's dive into question 1, shall we? Yes, I think we shall. Okay, so question 1 is, when you dial in your John Frusciante tone, do you always go for the Californication era tone? Kind of, yeah. I mean, that is my favourite period, where it's darker, woollier, more distorted tone. But there is a bit of a combination of all them in there. But I definitely kind of like use the Californication era tone as a kind of like my base, if that makes any sense. You know, and then the By the Way era tone where it got a little bit brighter, and then the Stadium Arcadium era where it got a smidgy more brighter than that. Actually, I personally feel that the By the Way album tone is darker than the Californication period kind of tone. I don't know why. I just feel it feels and sounds darker. I don't know, just the way I perceive it. But yeah, I mean, I like the Californication era tone. I like that sound more. It's got, like I said, I like how distorted it is and how fat and aggressive it is. It's really, really gorgeous. And it makes me really, really happy. So yeah, pretty much all the time I'll go for the Californication era. But I do kind of cross-reference it sometimes with Slane Castle. The AOL sessions is a really good reference for John's tone. Especially for 2006 AOL sessions. The sound quality of them is really, really good, and it's like uncluttered. So it's really, really kind of good reference point for John's tone. Anything else? Not really, but I mainly reference the kind of like, you know, that kind of like 98, 99 tone. Woodstock and Bizarre Festival and the Off the Map DVD and stuff like that. That's the sound of John's that I really, really love. Although, weirdly enough, the DS2 tone I go for, most of the time, is kind of like the Down in California / Slane Castle tone. Bit weird. But that might just be the way it comes out, but that's the sound that I feel my DS, when I kick on my DS2, it has more in common with Slane Castle and Stadium Arcadium era than it does the fuzzier, darker tone, if you will, of Californication. Mainly because John was not running the DS2 the same way during the Californication era. The DS2 was run with lower gain. He didn't have the distortion as high, and you can hear it in songs like Suck My Kiss and My Lovely Man. John is using the DS2 there, but he's not got the distortion very high. And what he would do there is the fuzz pedal he used, the FZ, whatever it was, the Boss fuzz he used, that would be his kind of mass distortion pedal. And then basically he would kick the DS2 on to basically, you know, add a little bit more to it. But the DS2 was kind of like a rhythm distortion and a lead distortion, whereas the fuzz was just a lead distortion. He didn't really use the fuzz as a kind of a rhythm thing. It was more kind of like as literally a solely lead thing. But most of the time, John, when he was solo in the Californication era, would put both on. It would be the fuzz and the DS2. Later on, during By the Way, that changed to quite a lot of the time just being the DS2. You know, there's a lot of conjecture around kind of like, you know, what pedal did John use here and there. But I'm convinced that most of the time it's not a fuzz, it's the DS2. Slane Castle especially, I don't know for a fact, and none of us do. But Slane Castle, to me, every guitar solo is distinctively the DS2 to me. It just sounds identical to, you know, as soon as you turn a DS2 on, it gives you that kind of sound if you've got the kind of right dirty clean. And John's clean tone at Slane Castle leans a lot heavier on the major than it does the Jubilee. You're getting a lot more of the major, the Marshall Major's tone at Slane Castle than you are getting the Jubilee. which makes it sound a little different. You know, it's a little bit kind of, I don't want to say cleaner because that's not the word. It's not cleaner. It's got a bit more of a clank to it. It's got that plexi kind of clank. That's the only word I can think of to describe that. But it definitely after the Californication era, the recording amp, the amp you hear more of, was plexi. I feel during the Californication era that the amp you're hearing more of is definitely the Jubilee. And then after that, you're hearing the plexi a little bit more. And then at the Hyde Park shows, you're definitely hearing the Jubilee more. So it's a kind of a flip-flop between the two. And it wouldn't surprise me if John had a bit of an input on what amp he wanted to hear more on whichever given day. So yeah, but you know, that be what it may. But I'm convinced that, you know, after the Californication tour ended, you know, John did just kind of like, you know, the DS2 stayed, the Boss Fuzz went, Big Muff came in, there was the Zevex Fuzz Factory, and then there was obviously the Mosrite Fuzz. And the Mosrite Fuzz was never wound up to the teeth, and it was never really used on its own. You know, the Mosrite Fuzz was used in conjunction with the DS2, much in the same way as the Boss Fuzz always was. You know, you can hear it, you know what I mean? And in all fairness, most of the time when people think John's using a fuzz pedal, he's actually not, it's the DS2, because the DS2 has that kind of characteristic in it, you know what I mean? It sounds like a fuzz pedal. I'm going to sneeze, I can feel it coming, everybody. Am I going to sneeze? I'm not going to sneeze on camera. Back in a sec. Good gravy, I think I just sneezed up a lung. Oh, anyway, hello. So yeah, anyway. But yeah, I mean, John's guitar tone, as much as people will kind of like, you know, argue with me and say that I'm wrong, and that's fine, you know, everyone's opinion is valid. But it does kind of go against what you hear. To hear the classic example of John's guitar tone, guitar solo tone most of the time when he uses distortion, not being a fuzz pedal, is like the AOL sessions. You know, you can tell in that second solo at Scar Tissue and the AOL sessions from 2006 that John's kicked on the Mosrite Fuzz or a Big Muff, depending on which one, you know. You can't see which one, but it's definitely a fuzz. And you can tell he's not particularly happy with the sound. You know, it's very, very woolly. It's very, very kind of like dull. He immediately switches from the neck pickup to the bridge to get a bit of brightness out of it, to get it to cut, because it's really flubby. You know what I mean? It's very fuzzed out when he initially kicks in that, you know, fuzz pedal for that solo. And it's funny because the second solo, the third solo in Scar Tissue and AOL sessions, he definitely starts that solo with a fuzz pedal. But very quickly, you can see him moving. He very quickly turns it off and just has the DS2 on with the Ibanez wah. And you can tell that because by the end, at the end of the shot, there's a camera. If I'm John, I wish, and the camera's over there, you can see that John just turns off the DS2, and that's the only pedal he turns off. So you know, John leans heavy on the DS2. He doesn't lean heavy on fuzzes. You know, he just doesn't. You know, He lent definitely more on fuzz during Californication, but again, it was always ran in conjunction with the DS2, so it was never just alone most of the time. You know, there was always something there, you know, with the DS2. It would always have both of them on. Yeah, well, not always, but, you know, quite a lot of the time, 90% of the time, 90% of the time, he would run both. You know, there was occasions where he would just run the fuzz, there was occasions where he just run the DS2. But very rare. Again, just how he felt, you know. If you watch these videos, you can tell. Another good example is the TFI version of Scar Tissue. The second solo is just the Boss Fuzz pedal. You can tell it is. It's just the Boss Fuzz pedal. And the final solo on the TFI version of Scar Tissue is the fuzz pedal for a while, but you can see John gets a bit, something's not right, and then you can see him actually do it in the video. It's wicked. He turns on the DS2, and it just adds a little bit more clarity to it. It just brings up the mids and the highs a little bit more to give it a little bit more cut. So yeah, just, you know, I don't know. I'm talking about John Frusciante again, so I'm just gonna waffle. So anyway, but yeah, so yeah, definitely. Let's get back to the question at hand, Dave. Sorry, I do apologise, but yeah, you know what I'm like with my John Frusciante stuff. But yeah, it's mainly DS2. But let's move along. But do I always go for californication era? Yeah, most of the time, definitely. You also asked, how would you set up your katana to achieve John Frusciante's tone, that californication era tone? I've got a video on that. I think I've got a few. Have I got a few videos on that? I think I've only got one, or have I got two? I don't know. I don't remember. I've got so many videos I can't keep track. But I've got a video on how I set my amp up. It's John Frusciante's tone on the Katana 50. I've got a video on that somewhere on my channel. But I will tell you what I do. I use the brown mode. So I go to a brown mode on the Katana. I turn the gain all the way down to 0, volume all the way up, bass all the way up. I turn the bass to 10. In that video, in my Boss Katana 50 video, I have the bass at 12 o'clock straight up. But I can't remember how long after that. It was quite a while after that. I turned the bass to 10 and I preferred that better. It just sounds a bit fatter. So brown mode, gain on 0, volume all the way up, bass all the way up, middle and treble on 0. If you've got the present style wants to be at 12 o'clock, so straight up in the air. And that's it. That's how I get the John tone. Sorry, everyone. That sneeze has really irritated my nose. But that's how I get my John-esque tone out of the Katana. And in all fairness, I feel like, I can demonstrate. I can't that plectrum mode, can we, David? Okay, so, it won't sound right at all. Hey! Right, okay, so, we need channel 2. So, this is, to make sure I'm on the right channel. So this is, it'll probably sound a bit dark because I'm kind of sat in the way of it and it's behind me. And also because the speaker's aiming down here, it's not aimed at the microphone, so it might sound a bit dull. But we turn the reverb off actually because we don't want that on if we're doing John. That's another thing as well. I mean, if John Frusciante's tone, he doesn't really use reverb unless for certain things. So it's most of the time when I'm dialing into John tone, I do it totally dry. I do it totally without reverb, and then I add reverb afterwards. So I've got no reverb now. Okay, so the EQ I just mentioned, so the brown mode with what I've got it. That's how I set it, and I can't play Chili Pepper songs, but it kind of does that. These strings need cleaning. That's how I set it up, and that's what it gives me. Again, I don't know how well that's going to come across because of the where the mic is on the camera and where the speaker's aimed, because the speaker's kind of aimed into me, so that'll dull it down. So it might sound really dull, but it's not. But then you got your DS2, and I use the turbo overdrive in the cab. This is going to get loud. But I turned on delay at the same time there because I'm trying to turn on the foot switch slant-footed. It's not really working. But yeah, so that's how I set it up. But I do have a video on it if you want to check it out and hear it. And so be that for what it may. So that's how I do it. That's how I get my John tone. And again, with that setting as well, you can use a DS2 and an Ibanez wah, and you won't get volume jumps because you've got the compression from the gain from the amp. So that does sound really super dark from where I am here, but it isn't. It's just because of where the speaker is. It just it's not, I should have angled it actually. I need to put the foot up. Anyway, I waffle too much. So anyway, I hope that's answered your question. I'm going to have to move on now, otherwise we'll be on that question all day, and that's that'll annoy you with people I've got questions to answer for. Anyway. So, question 2 today, everybody. Let's move on. Question 2 is, what's your opinion on buying a new guitar versus repairing and upgrading an inexpensive one? That's totally subjective on what the guitar is and your budget. You know, if you can't, it depends if you can be bothered as well to fix up another guitar. You know, if you don't want to have to go through, you know, if you've got a guitar you really, really kind of like, you know, want to fix up, but you can't be bothered to do it, just get a new one. You know what I mean? It'll save yourself a hassle, really, more than anything. It's not worth the aggro if you can't be bothered to do it, because if you can't be bothered to do it, you're guaranteed to kind of mess it up, you know what I mean? Because your heart's not going to be in it. So in that case, I would just recommend getting a new one. But again, this is just my opinion. But it's totally subjective. I mean, if I had a guitar that I wanted to fix up, I would probably do that. I would probably do that over buying a new guitar. But like, I don't know. It'd be so totally guitar dependent, if you will, and also budget dependent as well, because sometimes you can spend more on upgrading a guitar and getting a guitar back up and running than it might have been worth just buying a brand new one for the cost. You know, getting new pickups and electrics, and you know, getting it refretted if it needs refretting, and you know, whatever else, you know, new tremolo system or whatever, new machine heads, new strings. You know, so it might be worth in the long run to get a new guitar, but you've got to judge it on what you want, really. Do you want that guitar? Do you want the guitar that's kind of like run down in the corner that you've had for ages, but you want to fix up, but you're not around to it? Or would you just prefer to go out and buy a new one? So you got to ask yourself that, really. It's totally subjective. I mean, I don't know what I would do. Personally, I do love fixing up guitars, but there are certain guitars where I'm like, I can't be bothered. I'd just rather get that one that, you know, functions because I want to play it. I don't want to have to sit there for days on end waiting for parts to arrive and then to kind of find out I've just, you know, spent more on it or spent loads of time doing it and it just doesn't work, or I've done something wrong or whatever. I don't know. It's totally subjective. I mean, I can't really answer that one other than kind of like from my own perspective. So, you know, it's really down to kind of like what you want there, really, more than anything. So, you know, just bear that in mind, really, more than anything. Yeah, just see how, you know, what do you really want that guitar to work, or would you just prefer to go out and buy a new one that's already fully functioning, you know, and then maybe leave that one for another day. You know, it's totally up to you, really. I mean, it's really hard to answer that one. I don't know, because like I say, it's totally subjective. But buying a new guitar versus repairing and upgrading an expensive one, again, it's just totally budget dependent as well. You know, do you have the money to do it? You know, there's so many factors in there. There's so many factors. And again, the major factor is, can you be bothered to do it? Because as much as that might sound kind of like, you know, silly or, you know, like, you know, lazy or whatnot, it's a very important fact. If you can't be bothered to do it, and you're like, well, I'm not really in the mood, I can't really bother to do it, and then likelihood is it'll never get finished, and if it never gets finished, there was no point you starting it. You know what I mean? And you haven't gained anything. You know what I mean? So you need to be, your heart needs to be in it if you're gonna do something like that, and you know you've got to do it right. You know what I mean? You can't just kind of like half-arse it, so to say. You know, you really have to be kind of totally on board with that whole kind of project thing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard to say. People of the tube, chime in here for us in the comment section below. So, what would you recommend? Buying a brand new guitar or repairing and upgrading an expensive one? Let us know in the comment section below what you think, because I don't really know. Like I say, it's totally guitar dependent. I don't really know. It depends on what that guitar is. You know, is it just whatever? Is it going to be worth it in the long run to upgrade it and or to get it working again? You know, or is it just kind of like, nah, it's not really worth it. I might as well just get a new one, and then I can use that as a project along the lines. I don't know. Let us know. People with a tube, let us know. So I'm going to have to move on to question 3, because I don't really know where to go with that one. So, yeah, I haven't really got anything else to say, I'm afraid. It's kind of really hard to... kind of hard to answer that one, because I don't really know until I was in that situation. Again, totally guitar dependent, in my opinion. Yeah, it'd be totally dependent. If this guitar broke, for instance, like if this guitar broke, this is my Tokai. like say a pickup broke, or the pot broke, or the selector switch broke, or the tremolo failed, or I don't know, whatever, then I would definitely just repair this. I wouldn't go out and buy a new guitar over this. So it's totally guitar dependent, really. It really is. Anyway, oh, my nose is so irritating now. Oh, sniffles. I'm going to go and blow my nose. It's really getting on my nerves. So I will be back, people of a tubing, but a split second. Hello, everybody, again. Sorry about that. My nose is driving me mental today. It feels like a hay fevery thing. It's horrible. Okay, so anyway, so I have a question 2. I know it's not a very good answer. I do apologise in advance. I know it's pretty terrible. I'm sorry. But it really is guitar dependent, and it's you dependent as well. Yeah, if you wanna do those kind of things, cool. If you don't, then stay away, kind of thing. Anyway, I'm gonna move on to question 3 now. Everybody, question 3 is: have you ever tried active pickups, and what's your opinion? Yes, I have tried active pickups. I've tried EMGs and a few other kind of cheaper active pickups in the past. They're really, really good. I like the sound of them. I just don't like them. I wouldn't have them. You know what I mean? Like they're not bad. You know what I mean? They're not like, oh my god, they're terrible. But they're just not for me. You know what I mean? I just don't get on with them. Plus, because I'm thick and stupid, I would not want my guitar powered by batteries because I'd end up forgetting to change it. And then I'd get to a gig and my guitar wouldn't work. And then I'd have to run and find a battery somewhere. So I don't like the idea of that because I'm not very clever with that kind of thing. But they are cool, but they serve a certain purpose that I just don't need. You know what I mean? Like, everything I need is in a single coil. So I don't really need them for anything else. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm after something that's going to require an active pickup, if that makes any sense. I don't need them to do anything. So yeah, I mean, but they do sound great. I mean, the EMGs I tried were really cool. I mean, I love the clean sound of EMGs. It was so crystal clean, which is really, really cool. But again, I wouldn't have them. I just, as much as they are cool, I just don't need that. I just don't need that kind of thing. Don't need that thing in my life, man. But yeah, I just don't need it. It doesn't really. They don't really appeal to me on any level, really, to be honest with you. I mean, perfectly honest. They're very, very cool and they sound great, but again, it's just not for me. So yeah, I have tried them, but not for me. You also asked, do you like the EMG single coils? Now, I haven't tried them. I've only tried EMG humbuckers. I haven't tried EMG single coils. And you mentioned the Dave Gilmour set, and Dave Gilmour makes his sound like heaven, doesn't he? But no, I've not tried the single coils. I mean, I'd probably like them, but again, it comes down to the thing, I don't want my guitar to be battery powered because I'm thick and I would forget to change the battery. So yeah, I mean, that's what draws me away from active pickups more than anything is the whole battery thing. I don't like the idea of it. I don't like the idea of kind of like having to change a battery on a guitar. Like I said, I do like the idea of the Fishman Fluence pickups. I'd like to try them, but I wouldn't get them. I'd try them, but I wouldn't want them in my guitars because, again, I'd forget to charge them because, again, stupidity. But they are good. They are cool. They serve a purpose, but they serve a purpose that I don't need. I don't know if that makes any sense. But, they can do a lot. Active pickups can, EMGs and all that kind of thing. They can cover a lot of ground. But again, I get turned off massively by the fact they're battery. That freaks me out. I just don't like it. And so yeah, I mean, I have tried them, but again, not for me. The EMG single coils, though, I haven't tried them. Now, I'd like to try them, but I wouldn't be putting them in any of my guitars. It doesn't appeal. It doesn't interest me in the slightest to have active pickups in a guitar. They just don't click. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense whatsoever. So yeah, people of the tube, I put this question to you as well. what do you think to active pickups? What's your opinion on active pickups? And do you use active pickups? And if so, how do you find them? Do you really like them, or do they serve a certain purpose that you need? Let us know. Comment section below. Curious to read your comments and your thoughts and experiences. So I hope that's a question. Moving on to final question of the day. Question 4. That's a bit weird. Anyway, question 4 is: do you like Eddie Van Halen, and what are your thoughts on his playing and the Frankenstrat? Yes, I love Eddie. Eddie's guitar playing is insane. I really feel that Eddie's up there with people like Jimi Hendrix for reinventing the guitar. Because Jimmy, obviously, without Jimmy, Eddie wouldn't exist. And without Eddie, quite a lot of other players wouldn't exist. The whole tapping thing, and just certain things that Eddie did that nobody else did is incredible. Even down to like the humbucker and the Strat. It's mad. It boggles my mind that before him, no one had done that. It's actually insane to me. I can't actually I can't fathom that one. If I'm being perfectly honest, it's crazy to me that like no one had done that. Or if they had, no one had said anything. He was like the first guy in the mainstream to shove a humbucker in a Strat style guitar. It's crazy to me, that one. But I love Eddie's playing. It's really expressive, and the thing I love about Eddie is Eddie serves the song. He never overplays, and he never overstays his welcome. You only have to look at Ain't Talking About Love to see that. There's 2 guitar solos in that song, and not one of them is flashy. Not one of them is technically difficult, considering how technically advanced Eddie was. But that solo is perfect for that song. It's so good, and I'd play it if I could, but I can't. Copyright. Yeah. But yeah, it serves the song. It's really, really awesome, and it's perfect. You couldn't get any better if you try, really. So my nose is really itchy. Oh, driving me insane. I might go and break it after this just to see if it helps. But no, I love Eddie's playing. Like I say, it's not just kind of like, apart from obviously his guitar solo like Eruption, where he could stretch, his solos serve a purpose. You know what I mean? They're all very well suited to what's going on. Like I say, they never overstay their welcome. They're always perfect for where they need to be, and they're always the perfect length, and they always just work no matter what. They're just. And it's just his style. It's just you hear it and you're like, you just know him. You could pick him out of a box of a million guitarists, Eddie Van Halen, because of his sound and his style and his phrasing. He's got a real distinctive voice, and that's what makes him really, really awesome. And again, I put him up there with Jimi Hendrix on the kind of like the innovation front of of what he did, because he really is. He's a tweaker, and and not only a guitar tweaker, with stuff like an amp tweaker and pedal tweaker and all this kind of thing. He tweaks things like technique wise. Yeah, he wasn't the first guy to do tapping, no, but he was the first person to bring it into that style and to use it that way. There was no, to a degree where it was like, it was really honed and perfect. Because you had people like Rory Gallagher doing tapping. Rory would do that thing where he'd go, or with a plectrum, which I misplaced. Where are you? Rory would do that thing. He would do that kind of thing. So, but it wasn't as neat and as tidy as Eddie. When you had Eddie kind of doing stuff like. That kind of thing. Eddie really honed it. He really made it his thing. I don't know if it's like, he wasn't the first one to come up with it. It's like, he never said that. And I know he's not, and everyone knows he's not the first person to do it, but he was the first person to really make something of it. In rock. really. You know what I mean? Kind of a whole idea of kind of like, you know, how he did that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, be that for what it may, but I love his playing. I do love Eddie's playing, and I remember learning Eruption and Unchained and Panama and Ain't Talking About Love and Running with the Devil and Hot for Teacher, which I still struggle to play. So difficult. That riff is such a finger breaker. It really is. It's absolutely amazing. I love it to bits. It's so cool. But it really is. It takes so much to get it right. And I'm still nowhere near getting it right. It's not really my style of playing, but I really want to get it right. But anyway. And I love those things where you kind of go... That kind of thing is super cool. Also, it kind of... What was it? So many cool little kind of like tapping techniques he did. And those things... Oh, I love this. I love when he goes... You know, those tapped harmonics, keeping a root in there and playing the chord, the first... You know, the 1, 3, 5 of the chord. It's so cool. It's so cool. There's so much to learn. There's so much to incorporate. And also the fast tremolo picking. That kind of thing. Super cool. So much to learn from Eddie. And I love his playing for that. He is mad as a box of frogs. Absolutely mad, man. But, you know, a lot of people like that who are super creative are. You know what I mean? He's... a little unhinged. He seems a little unhinged, but that's okay. You know, he is what he is. But yeah, I mean, I love his playing. I love his style. I love the guy. He's so cool. It's just really, really cool. Really, really cool guy. And I love it. And I love his guitar tone as well. You know, having those Marshall plexis wound to the teeth like that, you know, and starving them with electricity to get that sound. Oh, ridiculously cool. Ridiculously cool. So I love him. And you also asked, yeah, what do I think of the Frankenstrat? I mean, the Frankenstrat is groundbreaking, really, when you think about it. You know, that was the first time a Strat-style guitar had a humbucker shoved in it. You know, and in all fairness, I prefer the Frankenstrat when it's black and white. I don't really like the red. I don't like the red one. I like the black and white one with the maple neck and the black scratch plate and the single humbucker, and I really want the EVH version of that guitar. I can't afford it, but it's a really, really awesome guitar, and I really want that. I prefer that version. I think Eddie said as well he preferred it. He wished he had never sprayed the red, but I could be wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure he said that. But I prefer the black and white version of the Frankenstrat to the red version of a Frankenstrat. I mean, I know it's the same guitar, but I definitely prefer the black and white. It looked cooler. I reckon the black one looked cool. The black and white one looked cooler. It really did. I really do feel it looked cooler. You know, it was a really cool concept. You know, it was a single humbucker, a volume control, a body that he just sprayed. I think was it black first. I think he'd sprayed it black first, wrapped it in tape, and then sprayed it white, and then took the tape off. I mean, that in itself is really cool. I mean, that's always going to lead to a cool result. I had a guitar like that. I had an old Hondo Strat. I don't have it anymore. I sold it years ago. But I had a Hondo Strat that I had done that too, and it looks so cool. It really does look so cool. You know, and it's just it's wicked. It's just so cool. I like the idea of it. I love the white and black. Oh. It's one of those guitars I really, really want. And we'll have one day. Oh yes, it will be mine. It will be mine. Anyway, but yeah, the Frankenstrat is the first of its kind. You know, that Strat style guitar, humbucker in the bridge, you know, and one pickup as well. No other pickups, you know, and it's incredible, really. You know, so cool. And as far as I know, like, I mean, I don't know if correct me if I'm wrong, people of the tube, but as far as I thought of what I've read. And what I think is the humbucker he had in the guitar was a PAF Gibson humbucker, but it was from a Gibson 335, and from what I've read, it was a neck humbucker, and it was also he repotted it as well, so he didn't squeal at him, and he potted it in wax himself. But as far as I know, that was the thing. So this is interesting to me, and I just love his brain pattern as well. There's cool interviews with him where he says, like, when he was building it, he just thought, well, sure, if I put the humbucker to the volume pot, and then wire a volume pot to the output jack, that should work. And it does. And it creates a really cool sound. So, be that for what it may. But, and also it was angled. In the black and white one, I swear the humbucker was angled, which does make it sound different. It's really weird. Billy Joe does the same thing in blue. His Fernandez Strat, it's angled humbucker. They do sound different to when they're like that. And I think Eddie's guitar sounded different. When he went from a black one, where the humbucker was slanted, was it that? Am I getting this right? Hang on, give me a moment, people of the tube. I'm pretty sure I am, but oh, me nose, it really is snuffly. Talk among yourselves, give us a sec. No, it's slanted in that one, is it? Yeah, it's slanted in both, isn't it? But for some reason I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I always thought the red one sounded different to black. Even if it's the same guitar, I always thought the red guitar sounded different to a black and white guitar. Is it the black and white guitar that's got the? Oh, I don't know. I'm totally backwards now. I no longer know which way he's up. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I'm totally mixed up there. But okay, either way, to me the white one sounds different to the black and white one. But the red one, sounds different to the black and white one. Get your brain in gear, David. I'm flustered now. Anyway, but the Frankenstrat is cool. I love it. But again, I love the black and white version. It's so cool. It looks like a penguin. It's like a punk penguin. Atomic Punk Penguin. I'm gonna start a Van Halen tribute band called the Atomic Punk Penguins. I love Eddie. I mean, and if you don't like him, you've got to respect him for what he's done. You know what I mean? For the guitar and, in general, he's inspired so many players over the years, and so many kind of like, John Frusciante is a fan, of Eddie, And there's a cool story of John Frusciante getting an Ibanez wah pedal from Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen said, "Why the hell does he like this piece of S?" You know what I mean? It's like Eddie hated that wah pedal. He couldn't understand why John loved it so much. Anyway, but yeah, I really love Eddie. His guitar playing's wicked. I love his sound. I love his techniques and all that kind of thing. It's so cool. I like the idea of using, like, one thing I got from him is like using the idea of chords, tapping chords. So for instance, like here you've got a hang on a minute. Yeah, it's D major, isn't it? Yeah, so it's a D major triad. So you've got your root note, then you've got your third, and then you've got your fifth. So that's a D major chord. And then you've got a G major here, C major, and then you've got an A major. And then just to get a minor, all you need to do is just like flatten the third, bring it down one fret. And you got a D minor, so D major. And I love that, and that's what I've got from Eddie, is this ability to kind of like tap out chord progressions. So if your chord progression's A minor, G major, and F major, you can then go. You can do so much with it. It's so cool to kind of like use tapping chordally. You know what I mean? And then again, then it's not just kind of like mindless tapping for the sake of tapping. You know what I mean? It's actually got a melodic purpose. And Eddie kind of uses that really well. You know what I mean? With the whole kind of like, harmonic tapping and, that thing, kind of like I say. And it gives you the ability to do certain things that you're not really capable of doing. It's so cool to kind of like you can get so many cool different things with tapping. It's so cool, and it comes from Eddie. He wasn't the first person to do it, definitely, but he definitely pioneered it and put it into into a rock context where you can now use there's so much kind of like melodic value in tapping. You can make it sound really, it sounds crazy, but it's there's a lot of melody in it. You can get a lot of melody out of tapping, which is really, really nice, and I love doing that with tapping. I really like that ability to kind of tap, and also you can kind of do riffs as well, like so much with it. It's so cool. It's so versatile a technique, and I really do feel it's an important technique for guitarists to use. Even if you don't think you're going to use it, it can come in handy. And you can do this as well. This is really cool, where you can kind of like start on a low octave solo and then use tapping to get yourself to a high octave. So doing that stuff like that is really cool. You can kind of like use it to kind of get you from A to B if you want. It's really cool. It's a really cool technique to learn, and you get the Joe Satriani tapping technique of using the pick, and, that kind of thing. Super cool. So anyway, I do waffle. Hello, Waffle. I'm going to change my name to Dave Waffle Simpson. Anyway. Is there anything else I need to say? No, there isn't. I don't think there's anything else. I could talk about that for hours as well, and so be careful, people of the tube. But Eddie's playing is great. The Frankenstrat is great, although I prefer the white and black version. And it's just, the man is up there with people like Jimi Hendrix, and I'm sure Jimmy would say the same. He really has done so much for the electric guitar, Eddie has. And, he kind of almost took over where Jimmy kind of left off. I mean, with the dive bombs, more distortion, kind of a bit more pyrotechnics things. The catching harmonics as well. Forgot about that technique where you get those. So many guitarists use that technique. John Frusciante uses it, Steve Vai uses it, Joe Satriani, Dimebag Darrell. And it all comes from Eddie. And then Eddie was inspired by people like Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. So with the dive bombs, you can hear it. When Eddie's dive bombing, it sounds like Jimi Hendrix. You know what I mean? So and there's also certain other things that I almost feel that Eddie's version of Eddie's use of the Phase 90 is kind of in the same vein as when Jimmy would use the Univibe. It's that kind of not the same effect, but it gives single notes movement. It almost feels like that. The Phase 90 is Eddie's Univibe. You know what I mean? Set slow. Be that for what it may. But there's just so much in his playing. There's so much to be inspired by. There's so much to kind of like to take and to kind of hone and develop in your own way. It's so cool. So cool. Eddie's a genius. Absolute genius of guitarist. He really is. I do feel he really took over where Jimmy left off. With more gain, more effects. So Eddie's used to delay as well. With when he used delay and echo, and stuff like that. He really did kind of like, take that, pick up that mantle, and that's the way I feel, definitely. I was like, because to me, there's like two main people who altered the course of electric guitar, and one is Jimi Hendrix, and the other one is Eddie Van Halen. I really feel that myself personally. In my opinion, I feel without Jimmy, we wouldn't have the guitar as it is. And without Eddie, we wouldn't have the guitar as it is. It really, really, really did change stuff up. So yeah, be that. But again, just my opinion. It's only valid to me. So but yeah, either way, there's so much cool stuff to be had with tapping, and Eddie is the master of it in this context. He's just a genius when it comes down to it. He's really cool. So yeah, love Eddie, love his guitar playing, love his sound, love his guitar, everything. So cool. So yeah, there we go, everybody. That's the end of another A&Q Wednesday. If you would like to submit a question, description box below has a email link. Email me there. If I don't answer your question, it means it'll mean that I've answered it before. So I don't know how many of these A&Qs I've got now, but I will have answered that question somewhere in there at some point. So I won't be answering it again, especially if it's a question I've been asked multiple times and I've answered multiple times, which has happened. So just bear that in mind. If I don't answer your question, it's probably because it's been asked before and I've probably already answered it on a few occasions. So it might take a bit of trawling, but there is a playlist of all these videos in it. I don't know how many there is, but so I do, but it will be in there somewhere. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I hope it's been okay. I hope you enjoyed the ridiculously Dave Gilmour inspired intro jam. I started playing it, I was like, this just sounds exactly like Dave Gilmour. It's just so, that's where it took me today. It's weird actually, because I went into record the intro for the video and I didn't have any idea of what to do. I had the Oswald on. My guitar's full of music and ideas. I had the Oswald on and I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I turned everything on and I turned the amp on and I turned the pedal on. And I was like, oh, I fancy a bit of, turning the particle verb on. And I was messing around with the particle verb and I was like, eh. And I turned the mix all the way up, so my original drive signal's gone. It's just the particle verb. Then I stuck the octave verb over the top and I was like, it does sound, and I was playing around with D minor, and it just sounded really calm, which is exactly where I wanted it to be today. I don't feel like I wanted to do anything kind of crazy today. So I was calm and it was chilled and it just worked, and I just started messing around and I was just kind of like playing this chord progression and which is just, what was it, D minor and A minor, and then there was an F sharp minor in there at one point, which I loved. Going from D minor to that change, I'm going to remember that change because it is absolutely wicked. From that to this, it's so sinister. Because it's, that is so cool. I adore that to pieces. That's so cool. It's like a minor, it's a major third shift. Major third shift. So, it's really strange, but it's got such a wickedly dark tonality to it. It's almost atonal, but not quite. I love it. So cool. So, and I don't know where it came from. Really, really cool. Because obviously A minor is the fifth, but I'm basically making it a minor instead of a major. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But but I really enjoyed that, and it just came out of nowhere. And then I just basically clicked the ditto looper on, waited for everything to die off, clicked the ditto looper on, and just started playing. And the F sharp was in the moment of recording it. I was going to flip flop between D and A a few times. And then I just went to F sharp minor, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" And it's so cool, I love it. So I'm gonna have to remember that one. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, everybody. I will see you again very soon for another one. Yes, well, I'll see you on Friday. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and I'll see you then. Have a great one. Goodbye now. Thank you for watching, and goodbye again. I keep saying it. It's so hard to say goodbye, man.